Is it that time again, viewers? I think it is. We're back with more of this, which none of my viewership is particularly interested in. It's a lot of time doing the exact same thing, because they're not Gundam fanboys like I am. Perhaps one day, this channel will be broad enough reaching that it will have a Gundam fan base, and most of them will have watched Iron-Blooded Orphans, or Mobile Suit Gundam Age, neither of which I've seen, nor know anything about, nor particularly care about, because I've seen the direction that the Gundam franchise went, and I don't care for it. And no, that's not just me being a boomer! Anyway, Lila! Yes. Train for space combat using a captured MS, so we're actually using a Zaku, the granddaddy, motherfuckers! Doesn't really matter, this is literally a training mission. It would make sense if the Federation, like, they knew they would be designing their own mobile suits, but it would be better if they had pilots ready to operate them, like, before the actual rollout, so they wouldn't be wasting these brand spanking new machines that they had built. And that's the thing, I mean, in the First World War, let's note that the Germans actually used more captured British tanks than they did their own, because they only made about 20 of their own, and some of those weren't even functional as tanks. One of them was made out of wood. So it makes sense that the Feddies would, you know, have a Zaku. Maybe they scavenged parts of many broken Zakus from the battlefield, or raided some Zeon supply chain and managed to grab Zakus from it. But yeah, they'd put their pilots in them and have them learn how to use the Zaku. Not only would this teach them how to operate a mobile suit in general, but they would understand how their opponent's machines handle and be able to better react to, you know, the changing needs of the battlefield. I probably did not get S rank just because I missed that one shot. Maybe more than that. Oh, yeah, there's the accuracy. Look at the little 3%. I almost made an S rank. Train for ground combat using a captured mobile suit. So we're a younger Lila here. Probably early 20s. I think she was late 20s, early 30s by the time of the Grips conflict. The Zaku just, like, feels good to use. I'm not actually trying to provide diagonal input. Like I said, the D-pad on this thing is just not great, and using the analog stick for this game just doesn't work. It does not handle well. You know, I do struggle to see how this is training when the enemies go down so easily. I mean, I have to assume these are, like, manned by remote. I mean, the Universal Century didn't really explore that many AI-driven machines, so yeah, they'd probably be operated by somebody remotely.
Alright, let's go back.
B rank, because the accuracy was even worse there. I'd have to go melee if I wanted full accuracy. Participating in mobile suit combat. Ah, the Gundam mass production ground type. Look at that chunky boy. These are the mobile suits I was actually looking forward to using. Thank you very much. Ooh, that missed completely. So these designs were incorporated in Federation vs. Elon, and they're the reason why it was considered deluxe, because these were not in the original anime. These were in the 8th Mobile Suit Team, which was a spin-off taking place during the One-Year War, but featuring a different set of characters, and a radically different tonal sense. Like, the pilots of the mobile suits in the main anime were piloting ace, super machines from a fancy new super warship and so forth and so on. Whereas the guys in the 8th Mobile Suit team were like grunts. They were everyman soldiers. They were not exceptional in any particular way, and neither were the machines they were using. And yet, you often felt more for the characters of the 8th Mobile Suit team because they had a lot of personality without a lot of the melodrama. Even if one of the overarching plot points, the fact that the leader of the unit, who was actually younger than several of the people under his command, had actually fallen in love with a Xeon commander. Which also ties into Gundam's sort of anti-war message that, these two kids could be happy together if they weren't on opposite sides of this grand human conflict. And ultimately, they both decide to fake their deaths and opt out of the conflict so that they can be happy together, even though they both got mauled in the final battle and, missing an arm here and a leg there, but they were together, they were alive, and that's more than a lot of people probably could have said.
All right, let's go back.
Yeah, the ground-type mobile suits were designed thematically to be less, "Wee, I can fly," compared to what we see in the series proper. Now we got the Gundam ground type. Look at that suave bastard right there. So this thing actually was designed to carry its own armament into combat. Its backpack is kind of weird because it's intended to carry a heavy load equipment container that could house a disassembled bazooka or its missile launcher. Yes, there's a distinction between its missile launcher and its bazooka. One of the versions, I think the high grade, actually has it with a disassembled 180mm cannon, but the notion that something capable of firing that size of projectile could be taken apart, especially because the barrel splits in half, oh, no. Not a barrel intended to fire artillery shells like that. The damn gun would explode every time you tried to fire it. You can't just screw sections of barrel together. There's a reason that doesn't actually happen IRL, because it would be a disaster. Some people might say, well, what about a suppressor? You screw a suppressor on the barrel, and it's like, yeah, but a suppressor doesn't have to deal with full firing pressure. The moment the bullet enters the suppressor and gases become released, they're allowed to expand. Furthermore, the suppressor doesn't actually have tight contact with the bullet. That's not the function it serves. Using beams underwater is unrealistic, even beam sabers, because, yeah, the energy, the heat would just dissipate into the surrounding water. I'm not... These ground types are a bit slow and clunky as is, and with the water added on top of that, yeah. Ow. I'm getting out of the drink. Take cover! Hey, I did not hit fire. Ow, a crackler! These are Zaku 1s. Yes, the Vulcan for the Gundam ground type is in its left chest, along with a multi-purpose launcher, which can be used to launch anything from flares to chaff, or whatever the hell the Gundam needs for that particular mission. No head Vulcans. Does it occur to somebody that, why would you put the guns in the head? That's just, there's not a lot of space for them, it's just bad. Now, another design feature about the ground types that I like is the fact that the cockpit is not in the abdomen, which is stupid because the abdomen has to be able to flex and move, so the mobile suit is capable of a human-like range of motion. The cockpit is in the chest. It's also not particularly well sealed. I think in one of the missions, a unit actually ended up fully submerged like this, and the cockpit started to flood because the seals were not of the best quality. Well, it wasn't intended to be used in underwater, or in space for that matter. It's a ground combat type. So the lore for the ground combat type is that Basically, it's based off of an earlier version of the Gundam. That's sort of the mindset behind it. I'm actually going to go machine gun. Fits into the tan backdrop nicely.
Launch.
So the Gundam was originally conceived having a sort of body plan form that the Gundam ground type ultimately has, but they eventually abandoned that as being slow and inferior to what they would ultimately come up with the final version of the Gundam. And they had already built a bunch of parts for testing, but they retired the model. As a result, when the Federation was like, well, shit, we need mobile suits and we need them now, they took those incomplete, Gundam prototypes and finished them as the Gundam ground type. And then a little bit of splicing with some GIM parts, and they were able to further stretch that supply out, making the GIM ground type, which we're currently operating. It's important to note that the GIM ground type does not have the fancy backpack, which they reflect in this game by restricting it to the machine gun and the beam rifle. You don't get the 180mm cannon, you don't get the missile or the rocket launchers. Oh, that was the main cannons of the Daub Day. You don't want to get hit by those. Another fun little detail is that the beam saber storage is actually in the calf of the mobile suit. Sort of like pulling a knife out of your boot. I kind of like that touch. That's a nice touch. They also have a shield that doesn't look like it wouldn't be out of place in a night fair. Some Ren Fair type bullshit. You might also notice that the GIM ground type here, unlike the Gundam ground type, does not have a chest Vulcan. Because it doesn't. Like, if the Gundam ground type was a sort of watered down, we just need something that works version of the Gundam, then the GIM ground type is an extremely watered down version. Hey, it could use a beam rifle, and, the Federation really didn't have any mobile suits at the time, so they would use anything they could get their hands on. Including captured Xeon machines. Oh, I'm taking on a Gouf in close quarters. Brave. Ow! That's a big chunk of my health. Oh, we finally got that gun. Wow, that took some effort. That's another Gouf. Oh, I don't care if I hit you too, Armoro. I don't want to get meleeed by that Gouf. I know how powerful that thing is. My viewers should also know how powerful that damn thing is. I skipped the explosion. Oh, I'm actually been getting a lot of new type ranks for these. Okay, sure. Help test the Federation. Oh, the trash can. This is not the part I was looking forward to. Look at it. Just looks like a trash can.
Lila team launching.
I mean, this one is actually more powerful than the official version. The official version either had a 90mm machine gun, which is weaker than the version the ground type used,
All right, let's go.
or it had a scattering beam gun, which is what this is modeled with. But the scattering beam gun was sort of like a low-focused beam that was sort of a beam shotgun, only effective at, like, short ranges, which you can tell, look at the size of the damn thing. In this game, though, it's given the property of, like, a full-fledged beam rifle that can actually hit targets accurately and without damage drop-off at a distance. But this beam weapon was basically useless at range in the actual anime. Which is why whenever you see them in later works firing at more distant targets, they actually have the 90mm machine gun instead. Now, I mentioned this thing sounds like a trash can when it's walking. Listen. I mean, the sound's not going to come great for you, because I have all of this very heavily muted on the grounds that the fucking music keeps getting hit with copyright. Which there's nothing I can do about that, because the developers do not have the prescience to leave the function to turn the music off. I can drop its volume down to a quarter of what it's supposed to be, but I can't actually mute it. There's no, like, BGM off option, so there's that. But no, this thing sounds like a trash can when it's walking around. Chunk, 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 chunk. Whoa. Nope. Nope, you don't get to rock it. Special maneuver! Interestingly, this does have the head Vulcans. That's sort of the ultimate cherry tap in this game, to kill an opponent with a head Vulcan. They're not even intended for, like, actual mobile suit combat. They're intended for shooting down inbound missiles or taking out fighters.
Don't think you can win.
Now, the thing is, we're going to earn crazy battle points for this, because we're using a mobile suit that has a garbage, like, rating. So our points multiplier is through the roof. Problem is, you have to have already struggled through all of Jared's bullshit and all of Lila and Mauer's bullshit before you get to this part, which means by the time you need all that extra points, you're not going to have them. So it's only good for reimbursement, which is why you never want to start with the Titans. Or Xeon. You want to start with the faction that's basically going to win up front, that starts with the best machines. The hero faction. So that way you can accumulate the points that you need. And when you play the villain factions and you're trying to rewrite history so that they don't lose, you actually have the points to upgrade your mobile suits when you need to. But I didn't play it like I usually did, because I would have lost my mind if I had to play the same route over and over and over again. Hell, I'm having to do part of that as is, and I'm not too happy with it. Kaboomy!
All right, let's go back.
Yeah, unit multiplier, 1,100%. I get almost 20,000 points just running that. So we got Jaburo Underground and Jaburo Over the Ground. Well, Over the Ground would make the most sense, and we're going to be rocking the Gundam ground type throughout, but we're going to switch up our arsenal. We've already seen the beam rifle plenty of times. We just used the machine gun. It's functionally identical on this as it is to the gym ground type. So rocket launcher, 180mm cannon, and missile launcher. Now for this fight, okay, Lila's not going to be a sniper type. She likes mobility, so we'll say rocket and missile. And for the external, we'll use the missile launcher.
Launch.
This thing basically double taps a homing missile, which I'm not going to go into that aspect of the lore of why homing weapons don't work in the Gundam universe. They sort of work, but there are certain hoops you have to jump through and hurdles you have to get over before they function. And, you know, lore-wise, the homing on these missiles was not particularly good. Thing is, on the launcher, the reload's pretty quick and snappy. And up. And out of the water, because using these in the water is a bad idea. Ooh. That first one didn't finish him, but that second one hit him, and oh boy. I could have cherry tapped by killing him with the machine gun there. That's a goof. No close combat for you. Get in the drink. Woo! Still waiting for that to reload. Whoa, who you meleeing, huh? Big boy? Chongus? My shield absorbed most of that. You don't have a shield, loser. Ah. Whoa! All too big for your britches, I think. God, it's nice to be back in the Gundam ground type, because when I played Federation vs. Zeon, you end up using these for most of it. Because you're given basically like a hangars full of mobile suits. The problem is, like, mobile suits require regular maintenance, which means that once you've used one, it has to sit out for a few missions before you can use it again. And the higher the rarity of the mobile suit, the longer that, like, sit-out time. There's also the fact that even if you take no damage, you're still given a certain amount of default repair that's needed every time the suit goes out. The idea of, like, regular maintenance. So you can take, like, a gym or a ground combat gym out, and then a mission or two later, it's good to go again. And you can use, like, another ground combat gym, whatever, in the intervening missions, because you'll have several different mobile suits of the same type and at several different rarities. And yeah, it's fixed in, like, 2 assignments, but if you take, like, the RX-78 out for a spin, let's assume you took no damage in the fight, you're going to be waiting probably 10 missions before that thing's ready to sortie again. So it basically, smartly to some extent, restricts you from just spamming the best mobile suits over and over and over again. You have to be tactical in terms of which mobile suit you use where. Like, you're not going to bust out the RX-78 for a fight that's listed as very easy, because that would just be stupid, busting out your big guns for the easy fight. Ooh. So that's the missile launcher.
All right, let's go back.
It's actually the White Dingo custom version of, like, the Gym Sniper or whatever that has 2/3 of the missile launcher on either side, and like a folding sniper rifle to top it all off. Just for a little extra pop. The Gundam ground type, and this time we're going to whip out the rocket launcher. Ye old bazooka!
Lila team launching.
Probably should have quick recover. We got to make sure the armor doesn't bite the big one. We're in a ground combat Gundam. This thing kicks ass. It's not nearly as mobile as his RX-78, but it's got some firepower. That's a running theme with Fedi mobile suits. Zeon designs are much faster, but the Fedi designs have a lot more oomph. Trouble is, with the Zeon mobile suits being more agile and their pilots being more experienced, the Federation rarely got a chance to really exploit their full oomph because Zeon just Neo'd their way through that shit and dodged everything. Did he just fire at an enemy that was on the other side of a wall? Oh. Okay, that's not... Now, unfortunately, even though this missile launcher has a pretty obvious magazine, it doesn't have, like, the quick missile reload that you get with, like, the Gundam Mark II. It's gonna have to have a cooldown once I run the ammunition dry. One issue with the equipping the bazooka, you might notice the shield is now just affixed to the backpack. I'm not holding it anymore. I suppose that does protect me from back shots, but I'm not exactly running in fear from the enemy, am I? Okay, gotta thin the field, and I'm out of rockets, which means It's Beam Saber time. Ow. Now, Armor, aren't the two of you supposed to be fighting? Why am I... Ow.
Let's go.
I won't let you.
Ha! My shield tanked most of that. See, it pays to have one. Even if it is a tiny one. My buckler saved me. Now, I don't remember if their routes had the Black Tri-Stars battle or if we just go straight to space from here. Oh no, it's straight to outer space. And now you're back from outer space. Unfortunately, they're ground types, so we have to use the trash can. And we're going to be fighting the Big Zom, which was literally a gym killer.
Lila team launching.
Doesn't help the fact the thing has an anti-beam eye field barrier, and this thing only comes in a beam-carrying option, with the only ballistic weapon being its fucking head Vulcan. I killed him with friendly fire! Oh, God. Well, that was easy. They're still going to play his lines of dialogue, because they're not triggered to run until Dozel shows up, which means that his death dialogue, even though he died at the start of the match, won't play until several minutes from now. Oh, that's fun. Oh, here comes the... Oh, the Gelgoog, Zeon's Gundam. Not good to be fighting that in a gym. Get your ass blasted. Oh, yep, there it is. Oh. Never park in front of the Big Zom. Never park in front... Whoa! Yes, that is why we don't do that! Hi-yo! Okay. Oh, yep, Slager's delivering his lines. Even though he's already dead. So, the weak point of the Big Zom. Shoot it in the ass. I'm not actually joking. Its ass is a weak point. It's got no shield there. Shoot it in the ass. Oh, God. Piss off, Gelgoog. Nobody cares. I got a head Vulcan, you don't. Even though technically the Gelgoog did have machine guns in its forearms. And they were Vulcans. Yeah, see, right there. You can hit it with a beam weapon as long as you're shooting it in the ass. Ow! Rick Dom? The gym would not be this durable in the anime. This thing would get, like... Somebody would kick it and it would break in fucking half. Ah! Holy shit! My health! My fucking health! God, that beam attack is not a fucking joke. Okay, I'm not in front of it. Gotta keep an eye on that. Nope, not close enough. Gotta get right under its butt. Shoot it in the poop chute. You know, guys, the Gundam is right over there. Why are you picking on me? I'm in a trash can here.
All right, let's go back.
And now, The Space Fortress... I am going for recover on this one. The Space Fortress Solomon!
All right, let's go. Gundam, please hang on.
Yes, that line is delivered because at this point in the story, the Gundam had one of its arms completely blown off, and it would eventually get its head blown off. Now, when I played Federation vs. Zeon, I hadn't seen the Gundam anime, so I'm like, why has it got bits missing? Is that a glitch? No, it's because at this point in the battle, it had bits missing. There was even the final battle inside of Baoku where a headless, one-armed Gundam fights the severed head of the Zeong, because while it didn't quite play out like that, that is actually accurate. Even though I ponder how exactly the head of the Zeon got 2 shots off when the reactor in the mobile suit was in the chest and was therefore gone. Like, how many charges can it hold in reserve? Another gym killer.
You get Lila involved, Star. You know she wasn't meant to be a warrior.
Yeah, well, Char doesn't really understand people. Got that silver spoon firmly planted between his butt cheeks. He was a prince, after all. God, even when he took on an alternate persona and the fact that he was nobility was hidden, he still acted like an arrogant, self-righteous prick. Probably the most humane you ever had, Char, was when he was Quattro Vagina, and he still managed to somehow, like, do a big rant about how Earth should this and that. Yes, I'm just spamming the beam rifle. It seems to be working. I am running low on ammo, though. It's literally just nothing but ass left over. And the Gundam's like, wait a minute, I'm the hero of this story. What's the camera doing in your crotch? And then, of course, that ties into her main route. Next time we'll be hitting... Well, here's the thing, like, Yazan's got a route that runs all the way to the end of the series. He actually survived Zeta Gundam into Double Zeta. Baran, on the other hand, even when you get his Lives route, it ends early on, so I might do Baran's canon route, and then scroll it back to his one-year war route. I mean, I could just sort of, like, follow the canon line from the beginning, but one of these two, if not both of them, have an alternate route in which, like, Lila lives, or something like that, which is what changes the timeline for the future. I don't know. It's a thing. But that's for another time.